Ba, ba, ba. Let's see. Make sure this is going live. Oh, did I check microphone? Let's see here. Yep, microphone is green. The button is going live. And oh snap. There it is. Okay. Stats. Upload. Just reduce your CPU. Okay. Looking good. All looking good in the neighborhood. What up, traders? What up, investors? Ken here from Dyslexic Investor. We're just a little bit earlier today, just to kind of get the ball rolling. We had Bear and Due Diligence already talking via the chat. Did some conversation with Makeshift and Bear via the Discord as well. So if you're not already in that, I'm just doing my overall like weekly homework. This, I know it's IPOF, very speculative. This is just something that kind of came up on a scan on this volume of, I don't know what happened here, but yeah, interesting one to watch. I'm just gonna see what happens there. Chamath Papatil's kind of social capital series again. This thing has never gone with anything. It just made a huge little jump up here, and just never really, again, that SPAC attack, whenever that died off, that just kind of went the way of the wayside there. But we can look at just SPY here again, that close that we're seeing here. A couple little small things, as you can see here, that we're coming in to kind of breaking to that 55 EMA here, which is the lines there. What's up, Makeshift Bear? Thank you for coming out, guys. Really do appreciate it. Coming into that 55 EMA here on SPY again. Multiple times we've tapped it and just kind of like jumped off it like a hot pan. So this is something they need to be a little bit, these little jump backs, really fast actions. You kind of just see it bouncing off a very significant EMA, which is again the 55 in this case. But recently we would like to see, so looking at my notes as well, some notes that I did take down here. I wrote that the week after triple witching, which was just happened this past Friday, the Dow is down 23 of the last 30. So the last basically 30 years, the Dow has been down 23 of those 30 years of this week. So, and it was only down by at least 1% on average. So could we continuously seeing some more momentum coming through? Again, this is just like seasonality, historical information. That doesn't mean it has to pave the future. It just kind of have a good mindset of like what's potentially going to be playing in the market, what other people are looking at, right? Just kind of be ready for anything, to be quite honest. Franklin, what's up, my man? Let's see here. I kind of, yeah, Asana, that was a crazy that's a crazy move. Let's see here. Hey, thanks for S trade. We did from 53 to 52, as you remember. Can you recommend a psychology book? Psychology. The one that comes to mind is, and I can't think of it. Where's my phone? Okay, it's charging. Psychology book, Amazon. It's I just ordered this great pan actually. I don't know, going sidetracked. It's is it Douglas or something with a D? Trader. Is it Trader Mindset? I think it's called Trader Mindset. No. I don't see it. Is it Trading Mindset? It's Douglas something. I always forget this. Hold on, let me grab my phone. Reach. Okay. Let's see here. I'm sorry, guys. 1 second. I wanted to get this right. I have it on my phone. It's like my favorite. Let's see here. Where is it? I have a lot of books on here. Trading in the Zone by Mark Douglas. That's it. Trading in the Zone by Mark Douglas. Trading in the Zone. That is by far the best book that I can recommend for that. Great book. Let's see here. Please do ASN and DM doodles. Yeah. So, yeah, ASAN. This thing has been insane for sure. Like, it's really hard to kind of even draw fibs on this one because it hasn't really seen anything come back. This last jump from his last earnings from basically this 78 to like 120 is absolutely insane. Looking forward to maybe pull back to the 8 EMA, which is this purple line here. But as long as it wants to continue to go, like, we know that this doesn't last very long, and kind of go within that range there. 1 second. Be right back. The little one's asking for the Disney login information. Let me send that real fast. I am starting earlier with the stream today, so I apologize. I don't have Disney Plus. Make sure I send it to the right person, these passwords, right? All right, hopefully that works. All right, let's go from here. Thank you for the side swing. So basically with ASAN, this thing is just, as we say, gone completely parabolic and going off this earnings. We're looking for maybe some kind of pullback to the 8 EMA here. But again, this thing can run for quite a bit here. To kind of show you on how extended this potentially could be is looking at this particular chart. This kind of shows the different channels of deviation here from the 21 EMA here. And we're seeing it exceed over the red line for multiple times. So this is just, I'm not saying it's going to come crashing down, but it just needs to kind of slow down. Like, this is unnatural kind of movement. It needs to kind of just start trading sideways or start coming back down to earth. Like, it's just something that's been very much out there. And DM, yes, I am also in DM. This thing is just kind of just treading water going down the hill here. There's nothing really much to excitement going on here. I like the company. I like what they do. I like the prospects of it. I look at more of it a longer term investment than just kind of just buying some calls on it and just swinging it. But yeah, this thing, nothing really too much to write home from there. Franklin, thank you. Thank you for coming out, my friend. I appreciate it. Sober says, I'm going Tesla puts, I think 700 end of the week. Tesla's got a lot of stuff with the successful SpaceX launch that we saw. Also with the combination of the SpaceX launch, potentially, like, could be some upside news. The stock has been moving quite a bit here. So you're saying $700 by the end of the week. That's a hard bet for me to kind of like to say or to take, because Tesla is volatile. I can't say it can't happen, but the expected move right now, it's only $32 right now. That's what the options markets are saying. So the expected move is plus or minus $32 for this week's options. So that would be putting it to like 725, 728-ish range. So it's going to have a larger deviation move. But I totally understand that you're looking at potentially the 50 moving average or the 55 EMA here to potentially see potential pullback into that zone. If we get anything to spook the market, anything that can kind of potentially drive the market lower in that sense. So that is that on that one. And it looks like not many questions coming in tonight. I know we are started a little bit earlier today, and kind of looking at that. I'm not saying you're just trying to short the company for a swing trade. Yeah, like I don't do the very greatest kind of trades with like in a weekly time frame, to be quite honest with you. Um, but I can see that it's definitely has hit. Let me open up my fabulosus pen here, and then we can kind of highlight a couple of these levels that we could potentially kind of can see here. So let's choose orange today. We're gonna draw a pencil, and then you can see this like right here, and then kind of right here, which is basically around that 775 level, which we've kind of seen some overall resistance. It's tapping the door a couple times here, which it potentially could kind of break through. Who knows, right? Like again, it's like I don't have a crystal ball to potentially see this, but the more time it kind of taps a level to the upside overhead resistance, the more likely it's going to break. That's basically some very basic logic on that understanding there, but it has failed pretty hard at that level before, and that's where it kind of failed there the first time. So that was the 1, the 2, and is this the third time gonna be going lower? I don't know. Again, I love Tesla, but yeah, the stock has been very choppy in the last coming months. So anything can happen, right? Or is all the good news already baked in and everything, and it's just gonna go back down to that 700 range, like you're saying, Saab. Anyways, that's an interesting one. The one we wanted to talk about as well, which I got some questions on last week. If I had my notebook, let me put my phone back into charging mode here. There we go. I'm basically just kind of running through what my basic homework assignment would be. So the levels was, I was looking at getting into Metro Mile. Again, this is going to be longer dated investments. It's kind of building some kind of a base here. This was an IPO, I believe an IPO, or maybe actually I think it was a SPAC probably. I don't honestly remember. Made that really kind of crazy high with the huge like stuff that happened all of February this year. Ever since then, it's just kind of been kind of crashing down here. Finding some resilience here. Not my favorite kind of stocks to play because it's like under like $5, but this is something that could potentially it makes money. Like last quarter, it actually made profit. Like how many things could you say about that? So this is one that I'm continuously looking at to potentially see if we do see a breakout, because we did have that volume kind of kick in here, but it never really had the propulsion that we wanted to see to kind of take it anywhere. It just kind of failed here at that falling 34 EMA here on that downward projection line there. Gook. Thanks, Bear. Let's see here. That was one. Oh, got some more questions coming in. Hey, that's just happening. Is asking for B big. This is again the crazy short squeeze that we saw. Again, this thing it's in its DNA for these crazy hops up and down here. So seeing it come up to that $12.49 range, coming back down, finding some level of support around 815. Potentially, if we start seeing the 8 EMA continuously kind of aggressively pointing down here, we're potentially going to be looking for some kind of a soft landing here around $7 to $6.68. But it is a potential short squeeze, kind of a downward move here, and those can be fairly aggressive here. So that could easily kind of create those propulsions and create that very downward fast action to break past that range and maybe find a little bit a lower level of resistance around $5.46. So that's going to be something that we could be looking on that one there. Tesla to 1.1K. I really do hope Joe makes it. So if you're not aware, earnings is going to be coming up soon. We have Bank of America. So this is basically one of the first ones that kind of starts kicking it off. That's going to be the second week of October. That's going to start looking at these potential financial companies looking at. So The one I always kind of just own because I don't know which bank is the best, because I know they all do kind of like weird black magic behind the door, and really it's hard to understand on how they take money and they do all these funny things to it, and they just the next day there's billions of dollars available or whatever. So with XLF, which is again the ETF that tracks the majority larger financial stocks. So if we look at the Analyze tab, we're talking about this is Berkshire, JP Morgan, Bank of America, Wells Fargo, Morgan Stanley, Citi, Goldman Sachs, BlackRock. We have all these, and then we have Amex, and then smaller points, but it's mostly JP Morgan, Bank of America, and Berkshire B shares. So it's going to be some of the larger components of this particular industry. This, again, I believe is going to be going in the longer run higher, even though it's kind of been steadily going lower here. I think we could maybe see a pullback if we do see aggressive action coming in to 36 to 35. You kind of see that action coming in there, but there's nothing as of right now. That earnings could definitely push it down to that level, but we are still, again, about a month out ish from that time frame. Bear says, maybe look at Zoom. It has been taking. Oh yeah, yeah. I shorted Zoom just a hair. It was a lucky one. Last with the earnings, it kind of failed here. It's coming into these levels lower, potentially finding a potential double bottom here. So again, if you look at here and here, we'll maybe get a double bottom here. I kind of been drawing more trend lines on my charts to kind of help me just kind of give a better perspective of what we're looking at in the market, and kind of just a very quick, okay, it's going down this way, this direction. Because you can kind of put it in this category of like a descending triangle squeeze pattern. So basically what you're looking at here is that it is coming into this like a wedge pattern where it's coming into this thing. It's going to potentially start trading tighter and tighter until you have an explosion to the upside or to the downside. So that's going to be the X amount of dollar question, depending on which way you want to play it. I know, Bear, that we've been talking about going it short, but I don't do the world's greatest job on shorting things more than a couple days. I just like to get my couple shekels and then see you later, and then get out of it on that front. But this is definitely something that is finding a little bit of trouble here. Again, that was during that pandemic kind of fun stock that everyone was trading. Again, was so excited to see up to like nearly $600, and now it's like almost like cut in half. So this is definitely something that has gotten a severe haircut, to say the least, on that stock there. And again, this is looking at the weekly side, so that kind of tells a little bit of a better story on what we're looking there. Kelly D, thanks for showing up, my friend. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Hope all is well. Another one to kind of look at, it's a good one to kind of bring up, is RK. So it's always best to kind of look at it from the weekly side first, and then we can kind of look at it on that front. So with RK, this is the Cathie Wood Innovation Fund. It's, again, if you know anything, Michael Burry is fairly short this one, as long as with very heavy Tesla puts. With RK, we're seeing a lot of chop, a lot of kangaroo action kind of going through here with Cathie Wood stuff. It's not breaking down like everyone's like, oh, it's going to be failing. It's kind of just taking a pause, a breakdown when we start seeing it below 110 and continuously kind of printing in that range. The implied volatility is fairly high, again, because it is a very heavily like a traded name in the fund or in the industry. But yeah, I think it's looking okay here potentially, as long as it stays above that 111 to 110 price target. Bear's asking for FXI. This is a Chinese ETF. This is definitely, excuse me, something that is not the most fun thing to look at here. We can, again, this is on the weekly side. I want to kind of give the most best perspective on things. I like to look on the charts on the weekly side to kind of see these underlying trends. Definitely when we have that fallout, multiple gaps down. It almost looks like Alibaba, to be quite honestly, the way the chart has this like risen up and then just got completely smashed, and it's been continuously just getting crushed and crushed and crushed here on every front, to be quite honest. So that's on that front. Looking at these basically like price targets here, I still have aggressively not really finding some kind of footing here. I'm not the best person with risking and understanding the Chinese market, to be quite honest with you. So this is something, it's not my kind of cup of coffee. It's just something I just can't really comprehend and understand, to be quite honest. Looking here on the move here, it is pretty aggressive here. So if you want to take a whack at it, it potentially could see things, but this is something I really don't want to be quite looking at. One that does come up quite a bit here, and I've been looking into it, is GME. GME is something that is just again, if you've been under a rock or in a coma, or you're just coming back from space, or you're not from this planet. So GME has had this really insane like short squeeze kind of like mentality, but it's not your ordinary short squeeze because no one's actually getting out of it. Like it's like a very interesting short squeeze where just people are just holding it. Like mostly people are like, oh, I'm just gonna take my profit and kind of go about my way and just do what I want. This is not the case. Like a normal short squeeze, you would see this go up to that $500 price target and then come back down to 50 and then continuously trickle lower to basically back down to that $10 to $5 price target. It has not done that. It has done the complete opposite. Like it's had these multiple explosions here that have been trying to be contained for the most part. But if this thing does explode again, we're going to be looking for some targets again around 260 to even 300 plus if we do see things pop here with GME. Again, looking on the weekly side, let's kind of zoom into the daily side. Kind of a little bit more chop coming through in here, but this is a very interesting chart to be looking at. Again, it's going to be slightly heavier on the riskier side because again, it does move substantially quite a bit with the implied volatility. But speaking of it, the implied volatility is not that crazy compared to where it was. It's still extremely high. Looking at like over 100% on multiple options contracts, but it's not as high as, of course, it was at. I think it got up to like astronomical amount of numbers way back here in January. I don't know if I shared the story. I think I shared the story before, where I had this person on Discord, and it was basically, it was like in this time frame right here. It was in like right, it was the beginning of the year, and the guy was like, "Ken, buy, what did he? I took a picture of it. It said buy like as much as you can of GME February calls." I said, what? He said January and February calls, but mostly in February. I said, sorry, most of the calls in January, not in February. I was like, okay, let's, we'll see. I didn't do it, of course, but I did the numbers. Like if I just put it in 1,000, it would have been an amazing journey there. But that person never pinged me back again, and he like kind of went off like the complete deep end in the Discord world, which never got a reply back, nothing else. I'm like, I was like, when's the next one coming through? But anyways, that was like some kind of angel or something that told me that. Alan, what's up, my friend? Look at monthly. You're looking at Bear for FXI. Are you long at Bear? Yeah, like it's a good way to look at it, Bear. It's still coming down to some level of support here. So that's going to be the 144 EMA. That is a potential level of support here. We have seen that quite a bit here before. Again, this goes all the way back to 2005 with FXI. But yeah, it's worth a swing. It's worth a small potential cut here, but you have to kind of keep it on somewhat of a short leash, because you once you get to these levels, that could be some potential chop coming in there, without a doubt. Buy puts on China, not a financial advice, Alan. Love it. I got puts on China's, but will it pay off? Who knows, right? Yeah, they're definitely cutting back on what's happening in the country. They're really slashing on the billionaires that we've seen here before, on that front. But it's something, yeah, it's not going to be my number one go-to investment. Let's be honest with you guys. Bears is saying no position in FXI. The ones that I find interesting, like I wanted to find what happened with Raytheon. Is it Raytheon is getting hit because of that was part of that drone strike that happened in Afghanistan, that the U.S. government on Friday posted that that actually killed kids and stuff like that. So it felt like look at that volume. That's insane. That's insane volume. And you see in the after hours actions that dropped maybe like 60 cents. That's nothing crazy, but that's just on the front of that amount of volume was quite interesting. I mean, it didn't really make too much sense to me, because I got a crazy volume alert. I'm like, what the hell is going on here? And yeah, we'll see what happens with that one. On that front, I wanted to look at people were all talking about Smile Direct Club. Like, this thing has been falling. Like, this was heavily. This is in China, right? Is Smile Direct in China, or it was expanding aggressively in China, and now it's getting slowing down on that front. But with this a crazy amount of volume kind of coming in, and kind of like this swooping pattern here, we definitely could see like kind of this cup and potential with handle here. Maybe run it up to like $7 to $7.30, and maybe kind of start creating some kind of a base here, maybe to kind of take off. But again, this is not my favorite kind of position as well. Again, this is very heavily momentum kind of trading here, and that follow through is really what I'm looking for any kind of strength in that market. Makeshift, are you in Smile Direct Club? It's a crazy one. It's a crazy one. This is another one that I saw pop off, which is, again, pharmaceutical companies are a dime a dozen on these kind of things. Yeah. Oh, you bought for the mean pump? Okay. As long as you know why you bought it, Makeshift, right? Nick says, Ken, buy all the GME November calls you can. Okay, Nick, are you the person that pinged me? Because I think that was the name. I think it was. I think it was a Nick. GME November calls, eh? November calls. Let's see what's going on in November. Looks like a lot of people bought the 300s. There's a lot of open interest there. But again, these are very heavily costing options here. Not something too outlandish that I'm seeing here, but yeah, something to keep in mind here. I think I definitely GME is just going to be busting higher for whatever reason again. I think it's going to have its time and day again. Speaking of other ones, you talk about AMC. This one as well is going to be it's a pretty large parabolic move as well, but now it's kind of coming back down to like somewhat, I want to say somewhat normal. And still it was not you, Nick. Okay, thank you, I appreciate it, Nick. What calls are you having in November? If you're just telling me to buy it, you're the one who's selling them to me. Nice, very nice, good job, Makeshift. It's always good to see the trading of like you start seeing things in the world. You're like, hey, everyone's talking about this weird looking shoe that has holes in it. It's kind of like a sandal. It's kind of trending. And then you're like, what is it? And you're like, oh, it's Crocs. And it's like at $10. And now it's at $135, which is insane. Didn't get on that bandwagon as well. So AMC, kind of the same kind of pattern here. Huge explosion higher. Coming back down here a little bit. Kind of chop, chop, chop. Looking for the potentially to find some kind of support here in the short term around 42 to around that $40 range. But that's something that could easily break through to 37 again and maybe trade sideways at that point and maybe see a rebound at that level. But again, this is also like a black hole. It just doesn't really make too much sense on that front. Looking at some other stocks that I wanted to look at. We're just loading. Let's see here. Applied Materials was one that has been looking pretty spiffy, as they say. Look at this one. It's been kind of picking at this previous resistance at 146. So it's basically hit it here once, hit it here twice, maybe 3 times here. Maybe you can kind of get that potential fall through. We are behind on earnings. We have a nice squeeze setting up. Implied volatility somewhat low here, so it's going to be a nice little, like a somewhat of a perfect storm to kind of see a potential buying in calls again, and see how this one looks like. I couldn't remember on how the options looked for this sucker. Yeah, this is what it was. It was super wide options, and it wasn't my favorite thing to look at. That's my only thing that really didn't kind of to come into fruition on that one. But this one looks pretty spiffy. Nick says, I'm going to buy some Airbnb. Oh, nice. So Makeshift in the channel, if he's right above you, he's actually going short, just for a small scalp, I think he said, with Airbnb. Yeah, Airbnb is potentially coming up to that 170 range and maybe getting a little bit of, again, not a breakdown or a fall through, but something to kind of just touch it and maybe get a little bit of a pullback. It has been fairly hot lately. Been holding, again, what I mean by hot is it's been holding that 8 EMA here and just kind of trending its little way higher to kind of break past this 170 range here. Actually, let me change the color here. I want to make it more dominant, so make it that 170-ish range there. So that is that. And let's see. Let's see. Hey, Ken, what's your thoughts on I'm going long, remember something it calls. Got hammered last earnings, recovered some last week. This is Callaway, right? Oh yeah, that is definitely recovered quite a bit. It's coming right back into basically somewhat where it was previously, kind of before it broke down. So I think you've been in this trade for quite some time, right, Kelly? If I remember right, you've been looking at this one for a long time. On the weekly charts, it's kind of like I want to kind of hold myself accountable to this. So looking here, just on the most simplistic side here, this is kind of an easiest way to kind of draw a downward trend line, and kind of seeing it potentially go through here. And then we can easily draw another line here, kind of creating somewhat of a wedge pattern here. So potentially we could see Callaway consolidate some more and maybe see it break higher or lower at this level. I think it has some pretty good support here, honestly, around the 55 EMA on the weekly side. So looking for something to kind of hold that level there, even with the bad news. Again, I'm not sure on the fundamental side, Kelly, on what drove it lower or what the fears was, if it was the pandemic, if it was a new Delta variant, I don't know. But it looks like it's been doing positive data here, so that's always good. And looking at this, potentially kind of seeing it break out here to the upside. Again, I'm more of an optimistic, and I kind of like these patterns here where it kind of falls into this level here, long as it kind of holds that level of support at least above like that $27 range. Ken, what do you think about OGN? They are working on a carbon neutral model selling. Um, yeah, I don't know the science behind that, honestly. ORGN, but we can look at the chart. Yeah, the chart doesn't look too great. Honestly, very looks like it was a SPAC. This definitely was a SPAC. Kind of came through, and then just probably this is when it went from a SPAC to not a SPAC, and it just kind of just not too much of a fun day here. This is be very much a story of two tales, potentially finding some level of support at 7, but this thing maybe could run. Again, I'm not sure on the news cycle or what's really behind the stock, honestly, Makeshift. So this is something that you would need like more of a fundamental understanding of it, because again, it's finding some kind of base here, potentially here around 7. So we'll see on how this is something that we could see to the upside or to the downside, because it definitely has been beat down for sure. I'm also loading up on GEO and before Trump gets reelected. What's GEO is something that is crazy that I've seen a lot of options buying on this one. Let me zoom out to the weekly chart. Yeah, this thing, it's not the best. It's a very much a downward trending stock or trend here, honestly, Nick. This is what I'm looking at on the weekly side. And what I mean by that, it's below the 144, it's below the 55, and it's now just got below back to the 34 again. So this is not something that, again, I have no idea what this company does, but the chart does not look very pretty there. Puts on China, yeah, no, I got calls on NIO for almost every month this year. Good. So you sound very confident in that position. I'm happy for you. I think that something that you could definitely see again. You saw Elon Musk give praise to a lot of the car manufacturers in China. So what do I know? In looking at the chart, logically, it is kind of coming some support here around $35.95. But we'll see what happens. Like if this thing kind of continues, kind of finds that level of support here. But if it starts breaking past that level, which we've seen here previously, in this range here, in this range here, and especially this whole pattern over here with that chop kind of batting around this range here, but it held the line. It really did, and it did make a nice little move higher here, basically going from like 35 to 55 in a matter of what's this 2 months. That's a pretty impressive move here. Let's not sell ourselves short there. Yeah. If you know what your risk manager doing there, X0331X, wonderful name on that front. Deep value investing. Hey man, what's your TA on GME for coming week? GME for the coming week is going to be a little bit more difficult again. We did talk about this one. It starts breaking out above the 209. We definitely could see it run to 261 at least. But it starts failing at this level here. We potentially could see it come back to 190 to 189, and then maybe even fall back down to 160 to find some level of support here. Because again, it is in a weird state where everything just not really quite making sense. It's in a very it's in a black hole, to be quite honest with you. Yeah, I think NIO is looking to get into Europe. If I read the article properly, they're looking at getting some of their cars into the European market. Let's see here. Why is this stuff not loading? I think I have too many things open here. Let's see here. This is like my main watch list. I haven't looked at the Zillow. Same kind of thing. This is potentially kind of coming down to some level of support here around $91. It's not the most significant level of support here. Again, that's not going to be a very strong base there. It does go all the way back to the previous move here in November, which we saw that level kind of come through there. This is not just, again, I think everyone can agree here that's watching here, all 10 folks out there. And again, if you haven't already, please hit the like. Um, that Zillow is definitely transforming the overall landscape of real estate. And between Zillow and Redfin, they're definitely doing, I won't say God's work, but they're definitely transforming the real estate process and just kind of making it a little bit more easier, more modern, and just less like sticky on just making things a little bit more fluid, easy to use, and more or less just transforming it on that front. Looking here at the weekly chart, the chart does not look, I wouldn't say it doesn't look pretty, but it's definitely something that, yeah, I saw that you posted that the housing sales dropped about, it was at 6% makeshift. Yeah, I think it's definitely, it has definitely, again, we're talking about a stock that was $208 in February and has dropped, what is this? It's going to be a nice big percentage. What's that, 38% of its value? Which again, it was crazy, crazy valued at that level. It's got down to, wow, it's like 55, yeah, 55%, 56% of its value has just kind of been eliminated from that drop high to lower here. Yeah, I find that I want to buy into this, honestly. I want to get into it, but it's something I just can't. Um, Uh-oh, Alan. Yeah, I know you're a realtor, right? I'm not saying they're gonna get rid of realtors. I think they're gonna have a purpose, but I think what's I don't know. Like I've never had a really good realtor, honestly. Maybe I needed you. Do you sell houses in Virginia? But it just hasn't been the greatest experience, to be quite honest with you. TV. What is he saying? TV Tobago. What is this? Tobago is a German-based company that operates an online hotel platform. The platform allows search for users, compare hotel booking. It gathers. Okay, that's interesting. Um, why this one? What's the story on this one? This is not seeing anything. It is had a huge move higher again since the pandemic recovery, but now it's kind of slipping back into where it was falling previously. So it's kind of getting back into that slipstream. Um, AF Alex says bye bye bye, money money money, honey honey honey, pump pump pump. We're going to two Mars. God. Do you think ever late is China will affect our market? Um, I'm still understanding that that the what's really happened there with the China, like it just sounds like something that was like over leveraged, and then not a Ponzi scheme. It was like it's not the way I read it was like it was an over leveraged assets that was basically going fine as long as GDP was doing great in China. But once GDP kind of slowed down and the way the bank had their structure set up, it just kind of collapsed on itself. So it wasn't like the that is something to look for on the sense of um, like our banks have to go through these since 2008 that they have these crazy stress tests and they're like mandated to have X amount of cash on hand just in case of any kind of incidents that could happen. So that they're very heavily more regulated. I'm not too familiar with what happens in China. So yeah. Yeah, it's been a while since his clients have sailed that. Yeah, Uh, bu- 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 have you placed any puts on SPY? I don't honestly do that very often because I do terrible job on shorting things. Um, I normally just get out of my shorter dated swing trades, honestly, and just kind of just trim size and just kind of wait. We did talk about this towards the beginning of the stream. So if you can kind of look here on how we're seeing SPY kind of hit this white line here, which is the 55 EMA on the daily side. We've hit it here, we've hit it here, we hit it here, and hit it here, and here. But each time we've kind of just bounced off of it really fast, really fast. Now, coming into this week, it's going to be, are we going to bounce off this fairly fast? And just kind of like it's just your hand hitting a hot pan, or you just try to pick something up that's a hot plate and you're just kind of jump off from it. But this is something that we could see it jump back up, or we can kind of see it trade sideways, or we can see it come down. But as of right now, the way it's looking, we're looking for the next card. We're waiting for the next hand. We're waiting for the next play to kind of show us what potentially could happen here. Right now, I don't want to be too preemptive. Everything looks okay, but if this thing really does want to break lower here, you do see I have some targets here. Basically, we start there's breaking a dollar lower from here. This basically kind of falls into what we just talked about here, but again, more substantially, this 425-ish range potentially that we could see. But that, again, what are the likelihoods of that happening? There could be an. You just have to be ready for anything, especially in a very short time frame. I think you know that. But as of right now, I'm just kind of presuming. Not the word presuming is the wrong word. Just looking at what the trend was and continuously kind of looking at that way. If it does pull back, it's going to be a great little buying opportunity potentially. Oh, excuse me. Makes sense. Like a lot of things are at the 50 days, like Fly, SPY, Apple. Yeah, Apple, Facebook did get a like nice slap in the face here, bouncing right off the 55 EMA here. Apple as well. So again, like we're still looking for this potentially kind of being a different like a dip right now, and looking for this kind of potentially kind of bouncing off here. Again, not going crazy and going selling and just starting to short the whole market. If you want to hedge your positions, go forward and do that. You can just sell some calls going out, or just by buying puts, depending on how you want to play it. The reason for TVA is because it's the state I have always used, well, always the site I've always used for traveling, and I think they, with the vaccine, become standard, then things get cruising up. Yeah, I love the travel stocks. I own the Jets ETF. I own CCL calls. Yeah, I want travel to come back. Do you have a price target for QA 21 price target financial report? Deep value investing? No, I don't do the financial reporting kind of stuff. I do a lot more of the technical trading on the chart side. I think the Alan, what's up, dude? I think the Everlaid will cause a ripple effect in the Pooh's bed, meaning if China lets it be the next Lehman Brothers. My 2 cents. Yeah, I can agree with that. I definitely can agree with that. There's a couple of boring stocks that I've been looking at is the old Walmart. I was is that someone on our Discord? Was that you, Makeshift? I was reading an article that whenever a hurricane happens, Walmart sells like 7 to 10x of the strawberry Pop Tarts. I haven't had a Pop Tart forever, but it got me craving for some strawberry Pop Tarts um, when I read that article. But I thought it was kind of interesting. So then, of course, I looked at Walmart, but just because on how many Pop Tarts they're selling, that's definitely going to move the needle. Sarcasm to proceed. Looking for Walmart coming into finding levels of support here around 143 to 144. I kind of do like this for potential kind of a slightly move higher here. It is kind of a consolidate a little bit. Had that extensive move higher here. Once we move to the weekly chart, this is when it potentially could kind of look somewhat more worrisome on people like, oh, it's going to be breaking below here and getting back down to 130. But again, you have to remember this was like on the crazy downward market moves here. This wasn't like just something that just happened overnight. They're starting to try to do things differently here at Walmart. So we'll see what happens. A Costco's 100% better. I agree with you, and I own a lot of Costco. Don't worry about that, my friend. I wasn't the most aggressive. I told a lot of people that I was buying at this level here. I was buying a lot at this level. I said it broke that 55 EMA. There's absolutely no reason why that should have happened. And that was just a great buying opportunity for that one with the gold Costco. What are some good TA charts to look at for beginners? Honestly, just moving averages. Look at moving averages. Look at volume. Understand the very basics of trends. So you can see here with Costco, it made a very aggressive V-shaped recovery here and like this trend reversal. And it just kind of continued to stay above the 34 and the 55 EMA here and just continue to climb here. Slowing down a little bit up here, so potentially we'll see on what happens, but Costco's is just such a strong company. It's insane. And it makes such a large difference when you have a large position in a stock and it just compounds quarter after quarter if it does well. So I love my Costco. Yeah, so trends always the best way to look at. Looking at TA, it's basically going to be on what your favorite kind of cup of coffee or tea is, honestly, deep value investing. If you're more interested on the Fibonacci levels, if you're more interested on the more like trend-based stuff, you kind of have to follow what you have to do a lot of different things. It's like a party. You have to kind of go through and look at what really relates to you and what you understand. Like, again, being dyslexic, I am much more inclined on looking at charts and looking at pattern recognition rather than the other. Again, I still do read earnings reports that companies I really like and are super long haul in it, but it's a insane amount of stuff that you could learn without a doubt. And it takes time. You can't just learn, oh, here's support, here's resistance, here it goes, blah, blah, blah. It takes a lot of practice. And again, looking at a chart is pretty simple, but once you have money in the game and all that kind of fun stuff, it kind of just changes the parameters. Yeah. Past was looking for T. Yeah. So that's another one I was going to actually talk about for boring is AT&T. Even though I'm giving them the middle finger and I'm switching to T-Mobile, it's just been getting crappy service here more and more in my area. It's an interesting stock. Like, is it really that horribly run company? Is it just like waiting for and seeing it potentially pop here? This is going to be, I don't want to bottom fish here, but we are finding some level of support. Again, this thing is trading as low as it was during the pandemic. Okay, like here's the 1, here's the 2, here's the 3. So is this a double bottom, as they can call it, and potentially seeing it kind of run up here? I don't know. We do have earnings coming out here. Again, this is on the weekly chart, so be mindful about that as well. So, and seeing that play out, but you would have to think maybe potentially taking a little bit of a swing at it. I don't know. Like it's a boring stock. Let's not be honest, but it's something. It pays a nice dividend. But yeah, we'll see how this one plays out. I kind of do like it. Hey Ken, thoughts on Roku? What's up, RG? Roku and Plug. Yeah, let's do a deep dive on those. Oops, I can't write. Is Roku? Yeah, Roku. Sorry. Roku. This thing has been a little bit of, again, it looks like Realtor is also asking about fib numbers. So we can look at fib numbers here as well for the old this one. So we're going to do the swing high to the previous low here. And it's kind of basing here, or it's trying to find some level of support here. With Roku, again, looking on the weekly side, it has some level of support coming in here around that 324, 323-ish range. The only thing as well is the 8 EMA is going to be crossing through the 34 EMA, which potentially could maybe drive some price action lower here. Doesn't always the case, but it's likely that we could see a little bit more of a pullback zone. It doesn't mean it needs to close here, but it could nice get to see a nice little punch higher here. But seeing at these levels here with Roku, being very mindful about that potentially could easily, as of right now, try to dip lower here. But if we do see a bounce back, or like they call it a dead cat bounce, that we could see a pushback to around that 350 to 355 range on that one. And plug is not going to be the most simplistic one to trade as well, because again, it has been super choppy here, and it's kind of coming into this really insane base here. This could be kind of creating up a perfect storm here. So what I mean by that, again, still looking at the weekly chart, because it kind of tells me the best stuff going through here. You already see the 8 has crossed through the 34, and now it's kind of trading parallel with everything here. So by what I mean by the perfect storm is we clearly know this company has seen a huge move higher of last year, coming down extremely hard here, and finding some kind of a base here, basically within this like small box of like 27 to like $23 range, and just kind of bouncing around this range. At the same time, we're seeing volume coming down here as well. So that's also a good sign. So you start seeing things kind of, not the drying up is the wrong word as well, but seeing things kind of starting to create that perfect storm where you're like, hey, price is consolidating, volume's drying up. It has previously large moves in its DNA that we could see a potential rip higher here within plug. So anything can happen in the market, but this is definitely something that could be kind of setting up for that little perfect storm there. David J, what's up, my friend? Dan, well, nice to see you. Nice for you to be here. Did you see IIPR raise its dividend up $1.70 a share for October? My biggest pick ever. Cha-ching, cha-ching. I didn't know it raised the dividend. IIPR. So again, this is that. They are like the warehouses for a lot of the marijuana companies. And get rid of these fibs. Yeah. So again, looking at this very basic price action, again, dividend $1.50. Is it $1.70 you said, or it looks like it's saying $1.50? Oh, this is September. Okay, so it's going to be after that. Okay, my bad. Yeah, a little bit. I want to say overextended here on the weekly side. It is kind of potentially can come down to like the 216 to 220 potentially, and maybe kind of get repositioned at that level there in the weekly chart here, and seeing that potentially get some aggressive price action coming here, because again, each time it kind of gets this huge momentum push higher, it does kind of get that chop and kind of falls back in range there. Do I believe that GME prices 300 again could see $400 price targets? I never say never, and again, I do sound like a broken record at times. Like anything can happen in any stock. Just remember that to a certain extent. There are probabilities and all that kind of stuff, but especially with GME, we're talking about a stock that has seen insane amount of kind of caveat moves. I think if we do get a breakout higher, I think 260, 250, maybe touching $300 potentially could happen. That's basically within the deck of cards potentially. Do I know when, if it's going to happen? I don't know, right? This is just something that you have to be studious about, of like, hey, this is a insane amount of moves that we've seen here. The easy money has definitely been made. The people who bought it at $18, $10 and gone up to this level, they made their chunk of change. There's a lot of people that are really still holding the bag here. And that's not a bad term. That's that they believe in the Wall Street bets and giving the finger to the man, and the larger hedge funds. This is definitely something that could easily, with another extremely amount of short squeeze, really pinch the stock and really kind of create that rocket ship higher here, in that area there. And none of my indicators. Subscription limit exceeded. Oh, I guess I gotta upgrade my subscription. Didn't know that. Visa was one that we talked about. This is kind of coming down some levels of support as well. Again, if we're drawing wonderful trend lines here, it's finding some level of support here. Bada bing, bada bang. If we draw the longer dated trend line, it has definitely been broken, but that's why it's always difficult to kind of draw trend lines depending on what your pivot points or what your lower bands could be. But with Visa, we potentially could see some level of support coming around 220, but it's not also going to be my favorite stock to kind of be looking at so far. What's your favorite traveling company for this upcoming year? My travel company, is probably going to be Jets, even though I'm not a large fan of the airlines. And I also like the Disney, honestly. I don't think people can look at this as travel, but I think the parks opening back up, all this kind of stuff, could kind of create this like huge like momentum push once, which I think that the pandemic or the virus is going to be with us for the foreseeable future. There's going to be different things that we have to deal with on an ongoing rolling basis. So between this one, I do own CCL, which again, make fun of me, whatever. But I think CCL, again, once things kind of start getting better and they get like a clear picture of what a cruise line is and people wanting to go back and to do these kind of things, there's nothing that's just going to be completely dry up. But this is something that I could definitely see in the next 2 or 3 years getting back up to that $40 range. It's not going to be a Tesla kind of investment, which we're just going to jump up 300-400% over the next couple of years potentially. I don't know. Maybe it could be. Like, I don't know if CCL is developing electric cruise line ships or whatever that can kind of drive that kind of market, but in that sense. I think there are too many institutional investing heavily in GME, like BlackRock is giving it a hard support at 300. What are you saying? Are you saying BlackRock is going long GME stock? Or they're shorting it? Yeah, yeah, exactly, Makeshift. Like a CCL is something that could, even like if you look at this before the pandemic, it was doing really well. Like it was doing okay. Of course, when the floor fell out, it just kind of crashed to this crazy, insane levels here again. A lot of people were being made fun of and buying these. There's a lot of Wall Street bets folks that went insane long calls and they were selling premium on it. All this kind of stuff here. This is something that just really kind of took off. Even again, the 08, 09 kind of crisis here. We're talking about those levels around $20. This thing broke to 15, and not saying things are different from basically 12, 13 years ago. But it's a cruise line business. Like it's not like going to be changing too much. It's like going to be it's a boat that houses people. People have fun, gamble, eat food, have a good time, pool. They go offshore. They go to the beaches and all this kind of stuff. The model hasn't changed very much, and I think once we kind of get through this phase here, I think we're definitely going to be coming back up to that $35 to $37 plus quite easily. Deep value is in BlackRock has $9 million shares long, as does Ryan. I know Ryan does, but I didn't know BlackRock was as well within that trade. So well, good for them. I'm sure they're happy. I didn't know CCL is actually reporting this week, so that's actually good to know. Did you know that, Makeshift? I need to write that down. We'll see how that one does. So the 23rd, which is what, Thursday? Yeah, Thursday. That would be a fun, interesting one to see, without a doubt. Twitter was one I've been coming up. This is something, and reinvest the dividend. That's a good way to look at it too. But a lot of my stuff is actually with calls, Makeshift. So I have longer dated like calls within CCL. Twitter. What was the question on this one? Oh, there wasn't a question. I just clicked on it. I saw something in here. There's something I saw. I saw a very large order of Dell. Someone very large options tree. Really kind of push higher here within Dell. Looking at Dell again, it's just crazy to see that Dell has done so well again with the computer shortage, all this other kind of stuff that has just been continuously with everyone working remotely. Everyone needs a new laptop. Everyone's blah, 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 blah. Dell is definitely pushing higher here. Finding some level of support here around 97. I really like these stocks that have been testing around 100. And once it breaks through 100, kind of gets rid of that motion here, I think it could run quite a bit here. At the same time, I'm a little bit hesitant on it's been somewhat extended here, but this pretty strong, significant base here is something that we could see kind of level support off here. Little T says Spy, shorts incoming. That's your cup of tea. I'm not a big fan of shorting things. I just like to cut size and take chips off the table. IBM investing for long term. Schmidt, IBM. I know, I've always tried to get behind IBM, but it's just, if you look here on the weekly chart, it's just like super choppy here. And as of right now, it's looking like it's really kind of creating here a little bit. So we see a break below 135 to 132. That thing could really kind of significantly go lower here. So the reason why I wanted to talk about AT&T is because we're talking about like it's in near the bottom of the channel here. So if we zoom out to the monthly chart on this one, look how far back this goes here. Again, this is a monthly chart. This goes all the way back to 1986. I wasn't even born yet. And we're seeing that level here, that infamous level at $27, just so much level support here, going back from the financial crash of the .com, the financial crash of the market that we saw in the financial crisis with the housing bubble, and now we're seeing it come back to the pandemic kind of low. So is this a buying opportunity? Maybe. We'll see. When did you trade your first stock? What was the highest P&L ratio? First stock was well before I was legally allowed to trade. I remember having my father call up the broker, and I put an order for Apple. This is like two splits before, when it was like $30. And my highest P&L ratio, I don't know what you mean by a P&L ratio. Do you mean like my highest profit loss ratio? Um, J Kush is a B, but Alibaba. Yeah, we look at Baba. Alibaba, look him in here. Looking here best on the weekly chart. This is something, again, kind of drive us here on the weekly side. Very aggressive downward action, right? Are we at a bottom here? I do not know. I do not know, right? That is the couple $1 trillion question. If you want to take that moment to look at that, this is something. If we even go back to the max chart here, that is I have a level at 146 is potentially where I might start nibbling at it. If we do get a pullback to that range again, that goes all the way back to some previous levels that we saw basically in 18. But who knows, right? Where could it go? Where could things happen? I have no idea. This is just something, a very aggressive action. We have the 8 EMA crossed through the 34. That's a pretty significant downward selling pressure here that we could easily see kind of get kicked out here. But it's going to be very hard to nibble at it because, again, it's very not finding any level of support quite yet. But it has initially some short-term support around 155, though. If it does bounce higher, we're going to be looking for around 175 to potentially try to get broken through that. Property value dropping in China. Yeah, I don't know. Is it? Ken, did you see today at 4:55 AMC released word that they will be accepting Bitcoin, ETF Litecoin, and Bitcoin Cash for payment by the end of the year? Do you see this as gaining fast ground just on news? It could pop the stock, but it's not going to be like something that it's going to be. If they're saying I think that's already baked in, right? Like I think they've talked about that a couple times already. Since it's in like this really weird short squeeze, this is just something that the ratios that I'm looking for. If it stays above 45, that it's a nice little move here. But if it starts breaking, the stronger support is going to be coming around 37, to be quite honest with you. If it does pull back for whatever reasons, that $37 range is going to be something that's going to be a little bit more significant to look at on that level of support there. Yeah, profit loss. What's my largest profit loss? I've lost thousands of dollars on some trades that I was really idiotic in. Very idiotic in. Completely idiotic in. I don't like to focus on them too much, though. And if Bear's still listening, we can look at TLT. This is something. And the thing is, too, Dan, I don't trade too much on the news. Like, earnings news is always good, but, like, I don't know. Like, I would think that would be positive, right? But who knows? That could. The Wall Street cohort of invest advisors could think that's an idiot idea. I don't know. Like, it's just. That's why I like to trade my own philosophy, because it's like this is how I trade things, even though I would think that's a great news article and that's potentially opening up the door for cryptocurrencies and all that kind of fun stuff. But who knows what the market's going to spin it. TLT, yes. So TLT, what's going on here is inflation happening? What's going to be going on? Are rates going higher? So if you know anything about monetary policies with Jerome Powell, we're looking at potentially the cost of raising rates in 2023, or the talks happening basically a year and like 3 or 4 months from now, talking about it and looking at that standpoint. At the same time, we're also looking at potentially reducing the overall money supply on how much money the economy is getting from the Federal Reserve and how much they're discounting certain assets and just buying up a large swath of different various kind of things. That being said here, going into the max chart of TLT, it's not the most aggressively trending stock because, again, it's not like a trend line thing, because it's, again, we're talking about mostly about interest rates, inflation, all that kind of fun stuff. But there is a reoccurring kind of thing that we're looking at here. Each time it comes down to the 55 EMA on the monthly side, it has found some pretty significant support here. So just kind of highlighting that here, that 137, somewhat of it here, right here again. It's not the most the prettiest, but we're seeing it kind of level, kind of come off here more aggressively. If it does pull back, we're going to be looking for that 144 EMA here, but anything can happen in the market, right, ladies and gentlemen? So looking at those potential levels here, TLT, if it does come up to 153, I think we could get somewhat of a dead cat bounce and maybe pull back. This is definitely going to be something that a lot of people are going to be talking about, probably this time next year or even earlier, probably in 2022, talking about once if we kind of get inflation under control. Like, I think with the jobs market going crazy, all this kind of stuff, it's just kind of been insane in the membrane on seeing these very aggressive moves that we've seen from the Federal Reserve, and if they're warranted. So only time will tell. I'm not going to be going crazy betting against the Federal Reserve. Like, there's a very popular saying is you don't fight the Fed, and that's something you just don't do. I closed on a position Friday, losing 53K, held too long, and Supreme was my big factor. It happens. Made 10K back in the afternoon on scalp. Yeah, that's a way. Good great way to look at it, Dan. It's like not everyone is going to be. Most people are not going to be getting into the stock and getting every single one run right. I'm not saying, I don't know if 53K is a large money amount for you. If it's less than 1% of your portfolio, that's just fine, right? But if it's 60% of your portfolio, then there's a problem. That you just let it run too low in that sense. At the same time, it's all about your risk to reward and what you're willing to risk. Like, I'm looking to growing my account, so I am looking for like a 5-to-1 chance. It's basically what Paul Tudor Jones is giving, is like risking 1 to make 5, and other kind of variants behind that. With Uber as well, like I don't know if Bear's still here as well, because he always kind of calls me that. For some reason, I just kind of always kind of by myself and somehow get stuck with Uber in a lot of my watch list and potential picks. This one is definitely something that is kind of coming back down. So this, again, I forget who it was. Was it X something who was asking about like travel kind of stocks? I think Uber is definitely going to be putting in that category. Again, their last earnings, they actually made money on earnings per share. Okay, that's remarkable, right? I know the whole stuff on like what's going to happen in the market in the sense of are they contract workers? Are they real full-time workers? The scheduling behind it, all the kind of various law stuff that's currently going on here. This is something to look at, but I'm more directly looking at the chart here, and this is coming into some level of support here that we previously saw on the previous breakout of last year. So we'll see on how this one sets up as well. Hey, what's up, my friend? What's looking at Coin? Yes, Coin is definitely one I'm looking at as well. Good call on that one. So looking at this one on the daily chart here, coming into some level of support here. It's still very early though. Like, we're only talking, this stock's only been trading for 2 earnings cycles. And it's made like this crazy kind of base here, maybe here around like that 240 to like 237 range, and seeing kind of bounce in around this range. Again, very heavily correlated to all the kind of like regulations that's going on. So depending on what kind of hit piece that people want to talk about, it's, you kind of have to have tough skin kind of owning this one if you want to hold it for the long term. I would love to try to get into this in a longer term cycle, potentially a little bit lower here, maybe adding, excuse me, a couple shekels here and there, but this is something that I would love to see kind of print higher here. This is definitely something that I could see being the future, right? How think how stock goes up. Retail can't push these stocks to so follow the big money simple. Exactly. Well, retail can push GME and AMC, but I think there's also a lot of fandangling of institutional investors in there. Hey Ken, PLTR, what do you think is still some room to move up to, next week? And do you have a position? Yes, I do have a position long term with PLTR. Again, I have to thank Alpaca from the bottom of my heart. He was the one who pinged me all this time of basically this time last year. I was loading up on PLTR after I was reading about it, went to their site and everything. I was like, this is this bitch gonna pop, and it did. And it popped out of this like channel that we talked about here, Paul, for the past couple months. It's kind of been bouncing around. Finally had the 20 broken out above $27.75. Looking for this one to continuously to move. That's going to be the simple breakout, so that if it does run, we're going to be looking for some next targets around $31 here with PLTR. But this is definitely something that I could see I'm holding for the long run. Um, yeah, big money sweeps and Affirm. Affirm is another good one, honestly. That's a great looking stock for the long hard haul. Ken, have a great week. Gotta hit the pillow. Always enjoy your show. Much love. Thank you, Dan. You as well. Happy trading. Schmidt says Gilead. Yeah, this one, I've seen that crazy one. This thing is a pharmaceutical stock, right? Yeah. This thing has been trading pretty aggressively here. Again, looking on the daily chart here, coming to the 55 EMA. Your typical pharmaceutical stock, very like kind of choppy, kind of hesitation. Da, da, da. It's not like a smooth tread line like going up like this. Um, Again, if you have some fundamental knowledge about this one, this is going to be a little bit more helpful. As of this speaking, it looks like it has some pretty strong support here around $70. If we do get a kick higher here, we're going to be looking for that $74 to $75 plus range within GILD or Gilead Science. One more ticker of Citigroup. Yes, I actually like Citigroup. The Citigroup Bank here. I don't know how they treat their employees, but the stock looks pretty interesting here. Going into the again, we talked about XLF, which is again the S&P 500 financial stocks here. So coming into this range here, you see I have multiple alerts in this range here on $68 here. So it's going to be basically my short-term level of support here, and looking for this to kind of break above $72 on the potential earnings run that we're seeing here in the mid of October here. And looking for this one to kind of carry us higher again. Being a longer term position, especially with an XLF, I'm looking for these larger banks like Citi and Bank of America, which have a large cash holdings. Once interest rates kind of start curving higher, that basically just turns on the money printing press for them. So that's going to be a direct effect to their earnings per share on that basis on every earning. So yeah, I like it. In the short term, looking here on the weekly side, has been a little bit of choppy here, but again, that $72 range is looking at for some level to break out there, with again that support around 67-ish dollars to the downside. Guys, on that note, I'm gonna call it as well. I'm gonna do the same thing that Dan did. Is gonna hit the pillow and get some beauty sleep. If there's any more questions, please put them in the comments here now, and then we'll address them as quick as possible. A couple more things. If you want to start seeing some more live streams, please let me know the best times that people like to do these. You can join the Discord at any time and just ping me directly, and just kind of give me feedback on that front. I am going to be putting more time aside on doing some more YouTube videos instead of live streams, people really enjoy the Wall Street bets and the large options trading kind of stuff going through there. So that's going to be some more stuff coming, hopefully. Since the last couple of weeks, I've been very busy at my job. So we'll have some fun going from here. All right, so on that note, I don't see any more questions coming in. Let me just give it a couple more seconds here to kind of see on how other people potentially could write something in. If not, we can kind of just do a quick recap of SPY and QQQ. So QQQ, looking here strictly on the weekly side, we are coming to some level of support. Oh, looks like the ES just broke my level. What's it at? ES down is 0.5%, boys and girls. Oh no, look out. Let's see how this comes out. There's something, it broke past the 55 EMA. So this is something that could potentially continue carrying us lower here, which is okay. Let's have fun with that. But we'll see on how, if we can trade this above here and maybe get a higher target to kind of get that bounce. But to be quite honestly, this is not the world's greatest sign right now. If we're selling off on a Sunday evening going into Monday market close or market open. So this could kind of create some panic selling, especially the first 30 to 90 minutes. I normally don't really touch anything in the first 30 minutes anyways, just because of the crazy market kind of turmoil stuff. We'll see on how this one plays out. But ladies and gentlemen, thank you again from the bottom of my heart. I'll catch you guys on the flip side. Peace.